Hi designers! Now that you've gathered your resources, you should have everything you need for putting your t-shirt design together. You should have a main image, and you might have more than one if you haven't decided which image from the vector pack you're going to use yet. You should have an inspiring text, and like I mentioned before, you might have two different inspiring texts, one for the girl's shirt and one for the guy's shirt, but they should be related. You can see my two texts both have to do with feet because they're both going to use the image of the shoe, and they both have to do with sharing the gospel as well. You should also have a vector pack with various background textures or patterns that you could potentially use, and you should have chosen your color schemes, either 3-color scheme or a 4-color scheme for the girl's tee and the guy's tee. Now what you're going to do with these sources is put them together into a mock-up that looks like this. And a mock-up is a type of thumbnail sketch or type of preparatory sketch that a designer would use to show their client what they want, what the design would look like on the actual product. So in this case, the t-shirt. If a client was just looking at just the design, they might not get the full idea of the scale, the placement, and just in general what the product, the t-shirt, is going to look like. It's a little bit more developed maybe than a thumbnail sketch because you want to be able to fully show your client what your idea is, but you're still going to make some changes to your mock-up when you make your final design that will go on your transfer that you will actually press onto your t-shirt. So to get the models that you're going to use for your mock-up, you need to go to the MediaArt Share Drive and drag this file, which should be called T-shirt models, onto your desktop and then open it. And you can choose any of these models here. You can see I use the ones in the upper right hand corner, but you could use any of these if you like. If you want to place your design on the back, you could choose one of these. Any of these t-shirts you can change the color of the shirt, so you don't need to worry about that. To get these models into your mock-up, you need to create a new file. Make sure you put your last name, your first name, and this is 9.2 T-shirt mockup. And this time we're going to make it landscape orientation. That way you can fit both models on the page. And then you're going to use your selection tool, which is the black arrow, to click and drag across the vectors that you want to use, copy those, and paste them into your new file. You'll notice that you have the handles here for resizing, and just like in Photoshop, if you hold Shift as you click and drag, it will keep the proportions. If you don't hold Shift, you have to be careful because the models could get stretched, and that's not really what you want. You also might have noticed that in Illustrator, you don't have a history palette over here to where it has the list of the things that you've done. And what's really cool about Illustrator is you can use Undo, which is up here, or Command Z, and it will just keep going back in the list of the things that you've done. And that's different from Photoshop, and I actually really like that in Illustrator. So again, I'm going to hold Shift and drag the handle out to make the models larger. And you can see it's not getting pixelated because, again, this is a high quality vector, and in Illustrator, vectors are scalable, which means you can change them to any size. Now, if you want to change the color of the t-shirt, all you need to do is use your direct selection tool, which is the white arrow, and click on the t-shirt path. And you'll notice it might select different areas. That's just fine. You'll just have to color those separately. And then up here in your options bar, you can change the color of the t-shirt. And again, remember, you could also go over to the color palette, double click on the swatch, and have that color picker just like you have in Photoshop if you don't see the color that you want. Now this square in the background is just there for contrast and for emphasis, so you can delete it if you really don't like it, but if you delete it you can see the t-shirts kind of get lost, so it does unite the mock-up together, but you probably want to make it a color that goes with your color schemes. So in this case, if the guy's shirt was light blue, maybe this background needs to be a little bit darker blue, so that it coordinates, but yet the t-shirt still stands out. Alright, so now for actually designing, you'll want to work on one model at a time, so you can go ahead and zoom in. The zoom tool works just like in Photoshop. You can click and drag into an area, or you could just click several times. If you need to zoom out, you can hold Option to zoom out. And you're going to use your t-shirt sources, and just like you copied and pasted the models in, you're going to copy and paste your sources in. So for the guy's shirt, I actually chose this shoe. I'm going to copy. This time I'm going to use Command C, just like in Photoshop, and Command V to paste it. Resize it holding Shift, and place it in the location that I want it. Alright, now for the text, you could copy and paste it from your sources, but it's just as easy to use the type tool. And if you look at my finished mock-up here, let me zoom in, you can see I actually separated the text into 4 different objects, or if we were in Photoshop, these would be 4 different layers. Layers work differently in Illustrator. We're not getting into that. Technically they're called objects, but however you want to think of it, these are 4 different things in Illustrator. And I can just demonstrate that by moving them around. So I could move Stand Firm, I could move With Feet That Are Ready, and To Share the Gospel. Again, using my Command Z, that cool little undo. And that's what you want to do. That way you can compose the text just like you would compose any other part of your design. So again, you're going to use the type tool, and each part of your text is going to be separate. And just like in Photoshop, the type tool is a little finicky. To get another object started, you have to click off of the type tool, click back on the type tool, and then type again. Click off of it, click back onto it, and click to start a new object. And you can see I'm not worrying at first about the composition or the arrangement of this. I'm just creating these objects. Then I'm going to go and choose the typeface. Make sure you include the reference if you're using a verse, or the person who said it if you're using a quote, or the book that it's from if it's from a book. Alright, another note about your text is you can shorten it. If I go back to my sources, you can see Ephesians 6:14 through 15 is a much longer verse. It says, "Stand firm then, with the belt of truth buckled around your waist, with the breastplate of righteousness in place, and with your feet fitted with the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace." But that's much too long, and that's a lot of different ideas. I just wanted to focus in on the idea of feet as a metaphor for sharing the gospel. So I shortened it to "stand firm, with feet that are ready." I changed the wording a little bit, and that's okay. It's a t-shirt, not a copy of the Bible. You know, and to go along with this other verse, I said, "with feet that are ready to share the gospel." It's the same idea. I'm not twisting the verse or anything. You want to be careful about that. But this will fit in my design a little bit better. So once you have the text objects made in Illustrator, it's time to start to choose your typeface. And unfortunately, Illustrator does not work like Photoshop in this. You can't highlight the text and then highlight the typeface and scroll through. You would just have to know the typeface and choose from the list. Obviously, Illustrator is not made for working with typefaces. So for this, instead of just picking at random, what I want you to do is go to dafont.com. type in the phrase or part of the phrase of the text that you're going to use, change the fonts to 50, and then look at all the different fonts that you can download and to choose a specific font, a different font that really goes with the look and what you're trying to communicate with your design. And in this case, with this term stand firm, I wanted something that was bold, that was stable, that kind of communicated standing firm in the midst of hardship. And so maybe something that was a little gritty as well. So I chose the eroded theme here and looked through a bunch of different typefaces. I downloaded about 3 or 4 and then installed those. And if you need help with that, I can come around and help you. But you want to download a specific typeface and then remember or write down the name of the typeface. That way you can choose it. In this case, it was abandon. And I really like how this is bold, but yet it's a little bit gritty, like I said. And then I can change the size of this to fit in with my design. Now you notice both my guy's shirt and my girl's shirt are both like central designs. They're one design on the very middle front of the t-shirt. You are not limited to this type of design. You can design with the whole t-shirt in mind. So if you wanted the quote going up around the neck and you wanted the main image over here on the side, and maybe the texture, the pattern kind of spread throughout the shirt, that would be fine. That's a little bit more of a challenge than limiting yourself to just one square area, but that would be great. The thing that you have to remember is you get one transfer, and that's an 8.5 by 11 sheet, and so anything that you do has to fit on that sheet. So you can't have a design that completely covers the whole shirt front and back. You could cut things up and place them around the shirt. So again, you could use this whole model. You could put things over on the sleeve or on the back or up by the neck. I just want to let you know you have that freedom with the composition. But for mine, I'm placing the words all together here, making them bigger. I did the same thing with these other 2 phrases, and I'll just show you the finished one. I used the same typeface, but 2 different colors to make the main point to share the gospel stand out, and I also made this a little bit bolder. I used the same typeface here for Ephesians 16:15, which is the reference, but I made the reference a lot smaller, and I made it the same color as the background. That way it would not stand out. It would be unified with the background. So one last thing to add would be the background texture in behind here. And the reason for that is it adds another layer of interest to your design. So you could use multiple textures that you have, or you can just use one. Again, copy and paste. And this is a really good time to show you how Illustrator works with the layering of the objects. Like I said, you don't have a layers palette, but you do have objects that are behind each other. So let me change the color of this. And I'm just going to choose green for the purposes here. And so I want this pattern in behind, so I'm going to control click on the object, go to arrange, send backward. Now I don't want to send it to the back because that would send it all the way behind the t-shirt and behind the rectangle here. Just send it backward. You might have to do that multiple times, or you can use command left bracket, and you can see that's successively going behind each one of the layers there. And already, even though this is still very rough, you can see the design start to take shape. When you go to color your object, again, just like you used for the t-shirt, you're going to use the direct selection tool, select the area that you want to color, and either use the swatches over here or the color palette with the color picker to change the color of that. Alright, take your time on this. You have to have your mock-ups approved by your instructor. Your instructor is your client in this case. And we're going to come back, either myself or Mr. Schumacher or Mr. Brinker are going to come back with design changes that you have to make. So most designers know that the more time and the better they make their mock-ups, the less changes their clients are going to have. So keep that in mind and put your best effort into your mock-ups.